The French defense is a solid and strategic opening in chess. It was named after a correspondence game played between the cities of London and Paris in 1834. The French defense became popular for its ability to counterattack from a compact and defensive structure. White begins with 1 point e4, controlling the center and opening lines for the queen and bishop, a classic and aggressive start. Black replies with 1 e6, signaling the French defense. This move prepares to challenge White's control of the center by attacking d4 on the next move. White pushes the d-pawn to d4, grabbing more central space and preparing to meet Black's counterattack. Black immediately challenges White's center with 2d5, striking at the e4 pawn and creating a solid pawn structure. White develops the knight to c3, defending the e4 pawn and preparing to exert more pressure in the center. Black develops the knight to f6, attacking the e4 pawn and putting pressure on White's center, typical of the French defense. White pins the black knight with 4-point bg5, increasing tension and threatening to disrupt Black's plans if the knight moves. Black breaks the pin with 4b7, unpinning the knight and preparing to castle kingside. White advances the pawn to e5, pushing the black knight back and gaining space in the center. Black retreats the knight to d7, keeping control over important central squares while preparing to counter White's center. White captures the bishop with 6-point bxe7, eliminating a developed piece and simplifying the position slightly. Black recaptures with the queen, developing the piece and maintaining solid pawn structure. White pushes the f-pawn forward, aiming to create a kingside attack and control more space. Black plays 7, a6, preparing a future b5 pawn push and expanding on the queen side. White develops the knight to f3, aiming to support the center and prepare for potential kingside castling. Black strikes back in the center with 8c5, putting pressure on White's d4 pawn and seeking counterplay. White develops the queen to d2, connecting the rooks and preparing for a possible queenside castle. Black develops the knight to c6, increasing pressure on White's center and reinforcing the queenside expansion plan. White castles queenside with 10.000, securing the king and preparing to launch a central or kingside attack. Black also castles, securing the king and completing development while preparing for the middle game battles. White captures the pawn on c5, opening lines and simplifying the position, hoping to break Black's queenside structure. Black recaptures the c5 pawn with the knight, centralizing the piece and increasing control over the center. White develops the dark-squared bishop to d3, aiming towards Black's kingside and solidifying control over key central squares. Black pushes b5, advancing on the queen side and preparing for a potential minority attack. The French defense is a time-tested defense that offers Black a solid and resilient position. Despite being somewhat passive at the start, it allows for dynamic counterattacks later in the game. It's favored by many great players, including Botvinnik and Korchnoi, for its deep strategic complexity.